Secrets of the Mimic. Oh boy, I have some. Well, I'm not trying to say I have beef with this game, but the lead up to getting to this game has been, how I say, yeah, that it kind of hit on. It kind of may have gotten a little personal with me, considering the fact that I got sick and all those prediction videos I had ready were just down the drain, and I had to rush getting all these prediction videos out on the third channel. But I'm not going to let that avoid that I am hyped for Secrets of the Mimic. And I know all of you are. Now, originally this video was supposed to be my last final prediction. Me finally putting in my final predictions before I can shut up and sit down and bear witness the glory that is Secrets of the Mimic, or eat my Doritos while I watch someone else playing Secrets of the Mimic. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that's entertaining. I mean, let's be honest. Everyone and their mama are probably throwing in their last prediction videos right now. And any theory and any predictions I do bring up, it's probably something you already heard of. So you know what? For my final video tackling, or rather, my final video of predicting Secrets of the Mimic will not be a prediction theory of the game per se, but the game after Secrets of the Mimic. That's right. I know the next game in the franchise. I know the main character, I know the title, and I know how it's going to end. Now, whoa. Let's calm down a bit, alright? Because I do want to clarify even further, because I know having the title I know the game after Secrets of the Mimic is going to have some people look at me like a traitor and probably going to be listening to everything I said with pitchforks and torches. So let me clarify myself, okay? I am not saying this is the game we're going to get after Secrets of the Mimic. I am saying though that I feel like there are just some key components that realistically Steel Wool or someone else, heck, maybe the development team that made Into the Pit into a game, could realistically make this game. This game just sounds realistic and something they could make right about now. This is not me trying to say my thing is gospel, okay? This is just all for entertainment purposes. A way for me to cap off, the road of predicting Secrets of the Mimic before finally just relaxing and see what Secrets of the Mimic is making right now. So, too long to explain. Please take everything I said with a grain of salt, alright? Do not come after me and saying that you lied to us, when I specifically said that this video is just for entertaining purposes. Cool. Okay. Everyone get that in their heads? Alright. Now let's begin. So, I think, with enough breadcrumbs in Fnaf, alright? Because you do gotta take a note that Five Nights at Freddy's was never meant to be this juggernaut that it is today. I think a lot of people tend to forget that Five Nights at Freddy's, the original, was supposed to be Scott Cawthon's final game, after getting hit by roadblock after roadblock of the gaming, especially with Chipper and Sons. He did not foretold that Five Nights at Freddy's was going to be this massive of a juggernaut of a franchise. And we just came off with the Afton family era of games. So now we're in the modern era, or should I say the Mimic era of games. So really, you just gotta ask yourself, with Secrets of the Mimic possibly being a look back, a prequel game that takes place before the events of even the Bite of 83, where do you go from here? Do you just make a game fast forwarding to the present? I don't think so. I feel like there are some aspects of a game that you can make. Heck, maybe even a standalone game. Not really needed to be connected to the overall Mimic story, but a game that you can feasibly make, and a game that people don't have to stress out about putting in their timelines. So here's where I'm going with this. The main character of this game that I propose might be Edwin Murray, the man who created the Mimic. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, wait, what? Why Edwin? Well, really think about it. In the trailers, we know that in the trailers of Secrets and the Mimic, we know that Edwin Murray has gone missing. That's the whole reason why Fazbear Entertainment are sending, recon or Fazbear employees to retrieval teams to go and get everything that Edwin owns, i.e., also the Mimic. And obviously, Secrets of the Mimic, in the game we're gonna be playing, we're gonna be the latest of the collector team, or I guess a one-man solo, because ain't no way they're making us have multiplayer on this game. Although a multiplayer FNAF game would be going crazy. I will also say that perhaps in Secrets of the Mimic, something is going to happen, and most definitely, the Mimic is going to get set alive in fire, only because in FNAF Ruin, we saw that the Mimic is perfectly fine, but the body feels a little burnt down and looked like it's been forgotten, even. So we know that a fire has to happen in Secrets of the Mimic, because, well, let's be honest, fire endings and FNAF just go hand to hand. I also will predict that even our player character might perish at the end of the game. I mean, let's be honest, there is no happy endings here in FNAF. But really, listen to what I just said. Edwin Murray has gone missing. He's nowhere to be found in Secrets of the Mimic, unless they decide to say, yeah, Edwin is in the game. You do actually see him you do get to meet him face to face. But the fact that he is nowhere to be seen, and Fazbear Entertainment takes this opportunity to basically go ahead and snatch all his goods, that means you could physically make a game about Edwin Murray. Where has he ran off to? What happened to him? And I feel like it all based into the next thing I'm going to say. I feel like the next game that FNAF could make would be Five Nights at Freddy's Into Madness. Now, yes, I know. Very original, I know. In case you guys don't know, back then when FNAF Help Wanted was just in development, there was a post from Scott Coffin saying that there were more stuff to come, like a book series, a AAA game, and heck, even a FNAF title called FNAF Into Madness. And to this day, we never really gotten anything about Into Madness. I mean, think of the games we got after that. We got Help Wanted, right? Okay, we got Help Wanted, the mobile port. Help Wanted 2. We got Security Breach Ruin. FNAF AR Special Delivery. FNAF Fury Road. We had all those games, but yet never, and I do mean never, have we ever gotten anything about FNAF Into Madness. And we know that that's something that Scott Coughlin would willingly want to do. Because, come on, FNAF Into Madness feels like a game that would feed families. So I feel like if Scott Coughlin would want, he could bring that game, FNAF Into Madness, and who is going down a downward spiral of Into Madness? Edwin Murray. Think of it. We know from the books that Edwin Murray created the Mimic just as a way for, the Mimic to play with his son so that he can go and work. However, after the unfortunate events of, David Murray basically getting hit by a car, Edwin isn't looking very hot. He isn't looking very hot, and he just, crashes out on the Mimic and then disappears. And let's be honest, going through something as, such trauma as losing a loved one to a police car, or not a police car, but in a hit and run, I feel like that's something Edwin could. I feel like if they want to make Fnaf into madness into, if they want to make Fnaf into madness in how I envision it, I feel like the game could be something about maybe, just maybe, Edwin Murray went to, maybe a clinic, a mental hospital, maybe. Maybe not a mental hospital, but maybe a hospital. Somewhere to get his mind clear up. But maybe he gets haunted by maybe some of the events. He might get haunted by maybe the mimic. But it isn't the mimic. I feel like he'll just have some memories of the mimic, chasing after him, getting revenge, all while mimic keeps sprouting out lines about his son. You know, phrases he's heard his son, done about. Because we know for a fact that it could be interesting. Like, imagine, right? A FNAF game, FNAF Into Madness, starring Edwin Murray as our protagonist, in a hospital, right? While being chased after the mimic. Or kind of like a FNAF 4, maybe even like the Phantom version. Like, maybe act like the Phantoms, possibly. I feel like Edwin Murray could, realistically, right? I feel like Edwin Murray as a protagonist into a game of FNAF, like, FNAF Into Madness, it could be something. Now, yes, I know. It would be better if I did a visual on it, and trust me, I really wish I followed this out. But, like, I feel like, in a sense, FNAF Into Madness with Edwin Murray as the protagonist could feed families. Now, yes, I know it's weird to have Edwin Murray be a protagonist, but I feel like, in a sense, it could feasibly work. This game would definitely take place maybe, just maybe, a few weeks after Secrets of the Mimic. And I mean, like, I feel like Edwin would also be inclined, maybe not inclined, but I feel like he would be in a situation where, yeah, I feel like people are deeming him he needs to go to a hospital. I mean, not only did he lose his son, not only did he lose his wife, and not only did he basically lost everything to Fazbear Entertainment. I mean, Fazbear Entertainment has literally repossession everything. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if all the characters that we see on Secrets of the Mimic come back in future FNAF games. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Mycelium Men return into a future FNAF installment. Or heck, we'll probably figure out that maybe Mr. Hippo is not the maybe Mr. Hippo and the alligator that supposedly be a past iteration of Monty isn't the only one. Maybe we might see a wolf character in Secrets of the Mimic that says Roxy. If Secrets of the Mimic reveals that all the characters, if not all the characters that we got introduced in Security Breach were originally from Edwin Murray's shop, and that Fazbear Entertainment essentially grabbed everything, then yeah, it would be crazy. It would be crazy. It would make someone, you know, emotionally, emotionally vulnerable as Murray to just snap. And I feel like a hospital setting could do wonders because, hey, FNAF never really done anything like that before. So, so basically what I'm trying to say is that FNAF Into Madness could be about Edwin Murray being in a hospital, maybe a mental hospital, maybe, but let's just say a hospital, and he's being haunted, right? He's being haunted by the mimic, or what he perceives as the mimic. Because, yeah, he basically beat on the mimic, who, by proxy, was just acting as his son, because you made him to mimic his son. So he basically was beating down on a robot iteration of his son. So now he's haunted by guilt. Now, I am kind of saying that in a way, this is somewhat similar to FNAF 3. Basically, FNAF Into Madness would just act like FNAF 3, but in a hospital setting, with maybe the Mimic or maybe some iteration of the Mimic. I don't know, maybe Edwin decided to make another robot, another robot to basically come after him. I don't know. But I feel like he would be haunted by such things. And heck, maybe even throw in some of the characters you meet in Secrets of the Mimic. Maybe the Mycelium Man. Maybe even some of the mascots in there. It just would be interesting. I just feel like it would be interesting to see a FNAF spin off series. Maybe a one off series or a, like a FNAF, one off series, right? A one off title about Into Madness and be about Edwin Murray. Because I do kind of feel like Edwin Murray has a possibility to at least make one game about him. Or heck, maybe he might. Or heck, maybe you can even expand upon this. Maybe Edwin Murray also. Maybe like one part would be in a hospital, and the next part it will be Edwin Murray in real life. Because we know in Secrets of the Mimic, we know in the books that Edwin Murray does indeed come back. He does indeed come back into Security Breach and Fazbear Entertainment. Because in the book, The Storyteller, we know Edwin Murray, after making after making the Mimic, does indeed come back to Fazbear Entertainment. And he's one of the higher ups. And in Storytellers, we saw that the White Tiger comes back, right? And what do we saw in the trailer? We saw a White Tiger mascot. So I feel like FNAF 4, or I guess FNAF Into Madness, how I propose it, would be one part of the game would be, like one half of the game would be, Edwin, suffering with hallucinations of the Mimic. And then and then the second part would be Edwin returning back to into a Pizzaplex. Not the Pizzaplex that we were before with Cassie and Gregory, but another Pizzaplex. Because we know from the books that there are multiple locations of the Pizzaplex. There are multiple. And we know from the vanilla game of Security Breach that there are a lot of endoskeletons. So therefore, we could have more iterations of Monty, Glamrock Freddy, Roxy, and Chica. So you could visibly get more Pizzaplex. That means more characters in a Pizzaplex. So FNAF 4 could just be Edwin Murray. Basically, FNAF 4 would be Edwin Murray in a hospital dealing with hallucinations. And in the next part, you can readapt the storyteller in game form. I just feel like that would be a cool game. It doesn't really necessarily have to fit in the timeline. It could just fit anywhere, really. Just know that it could be just a one-off game about Edwin Murray. And yes, I will say that in FNAF Into Madness, if they were to make it like this, I feel like in the end, Edwin has to perish because he did perish in Storyteller. So if they try to readapt Storyteller into a game in FNAF Into Madness, I do feel like in a way they need to send Edwin Murray to the gulag. I just feel like it, I just feels right, a one-off game. But yeah, guys, that's how I would view FNAF Into Madness. And it wouldn't really be that much difficult. I mean, they have the pieces to do so. I mean, Edwin Murray, you could just, don't show his face. It's just have some hands, right? And with the first half, you can just act like you're trying to make FNAF 3 into PS4. Have Edwin be still. Look left, look right, and having to deal with the Mimic. Heck, maybe some chase scenes in there or something. Maybe like Edwin in a hospital bed, he has to get up and he has to check his room and all that. having to deal with a hallucination of Jackie or a hallucination of the mimic. And then when we get to the second half of the game, which is security breach, then it's basically the second half can play out like security breach. You know, free roam and having to deal with the storyteller, having to deal with a, Glamrock, Freddy, Chica, Bonnie, Glamrock, Chica, Monty, Roxy, and Glamrock Freddy. Plus, it would be kind of crazy that one game Glamrock Freddy is our pal, our boy, and now in this game he's one of the ops, and it would be interesting to finally have Freddy be a villain again. And then ultimately we deal with the White Tiger, which ultimately ends with Edwin Murray finally being put out of his misery and get to meet with his son in, the pearly white gates and in Fnaf verse. So what do you guys think? Did I cook? Or do you think I fumbled? All I'm just saying is that I feel like this is a nice way. I feel like it's a game that's possible to make, and honestly, I would love to see a game like that, to say the least. But yeah, that's about it, ladies and gentlemen. So this is where I'm gonna sign off right about now. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the videos. So I know you guys enjoy. Maybe comment down what do you guys think. What would if you were picked to make the next FNAF game after Secrets of the Mimic? What would it be? Would it be a present day? Would it be a spinoff? What would it be? Or would you just adapt one of the stories from Fazbear Frights or Tales from the Pizzaplex? Anyways, guys, this is OneGamer54 signing off.